This video looks at the role of hormones to explain aggression, which is part of the biological psychology content. Now, hormones are chemicals produced by the body that send messages to organs of the body via the bloodstream. Unlike neurotransmitters, the hormones will take messages over a longer distance for a longer period of time. Now, the neurotransmitters happen in milliseconds and are restricted to their receptors. However, the hormones can travel anywhere. Now, the hormone that we're going to concentrate particularly with aggression is the hormone called testosterone. Now, testosterone is a male sex hormone. It's secreted by the adrenal glands and the testes. It's needed to produce sperm, develop the male reproductive organs, and produce the male features. Now, it's important to note that women do have testosterone, but men have up to 20 times more. Testosterone itself is a steroid hormone and it plays a key role in development in men, particularly for their reproductive organs, sexual characteristics, but it has had a long history with aggression. Now, one of the main ways that the role of testosterone has been tested is through animal studies. So animals have been injected with testosterone and the results have seen an increased level of aggression. Now, removing the testes in animals, we know, results in reduced aggression. However, ethics prevent us from testing this on humans. It would be unethical to inject a human with extra levels of testosterone, release them into the world and see if they're going to be more aggressive. But the aggressive nature, in humans is less instinctive than animals because humans are logical. Now, this point raises question as to whether we can generalize from animal studies to humans. Now, studies that have been done on testosterone in humans have been mainly correlational. Now, this is where we're looking at the relationship between the two. Now, they found a high level of testosterone leads to high reports of feeling aggressive within humans. Now, this has been done by taking blood samples from humans in order to measure the level of testosterone and then comparing this to how aggressive they feel. Research that you can reference in any essay that talks about the level or the role of testosterone and aggression. We've got Wagner found a link using castrated mice. So if you remove their genitals, they become less aggressive because there is less testosterone being produced. Dabbs measured testosterone in saliva in criminals, and those with the highest levels of testosterone were the ones that had a history of violent crime. Collat demonstrated in young men aged 15 to 25 when we would expect levels of testosterone to be at their highest because of puberty. He found that that was where men had the highest level of crime. And Pillay found that the higher the testosterone levels in the men and the women in aggressive sports such as boxing. Now, it's important to be able to evaluate the role of testosterone and how this links to aggression. Now, in animals, the strength is that we can see a clear cause and effect relationship between the testosterone and the aggression. And human studies do show a relationship between aggression in correlational studies as well. However, not all humans with high testosterone are always aggressive. Now, testosterone causes a drive, but not always an aggressive one. Does aggressive behaviour create testosterone, or does testosterone create high aggressive behaviour? Now, that's what we call a circular argument. It's also important to remember that animal studies may not apply to humans because we can't generalise because of the differences in biologies. Now, remember that the human research that's been conducted in this field has been predominantly correlational studies. Now, these just find relationships, they don't find cause and effect. It's also worth talking about if testosterone often causes aggression, then why are women often very aggressive if women have so small levels when compared with the levels of testosterone in men? Also, to say that aggression is simply caused by testosterone ignores other possible factors that could be playing a part. It's also worth referring to research evidence in any essay that you have on testosterone. Now, Bain et al. In 1987 found that there was no difference in levels of testosterone between non-violent and violent crimes. They mostly used small samples of men. And Mazur in 1985 argued, is it dominance or is it aggression? Now, they looked at testosterone and dominant behaviour and found that dominant participants did have higher levels of testosterone, but they also noted that not all participants showed aggression, and this suggests that individual differences may play a part in that individual people will respond differently to levels of testosterone. Cortisol is another hormone that we look at along with testosterone when we're looking at the role of aggression. Now, cortisol is like testosterone, it's a steroid hormone, but its function in the body is to increase body sugar and suppress the immune system to aid the fight or flight reaction. Now, it's mainly activated when a stressor is present, and a byproduct of its release into the body is the suppression of testosterone. Now, it's the low levels of cortisol that we would be looking at as an explanation for aggression. Now, McBurnett et al. Found low levels of cortisol in problem boys aged 7 to 12 years old. Now, boys with lower levels of cortisol were seen to be engaging in antisocial behaviour at younger ages than their peers, and this was 3 times the aggressiveness of the other boys their age. Now, it was concluded that the children with lower levels of cortisol are less afraid of punishment, and that's why they're not afraid to act aggressively, because they don't avoid stressful situations, such as getting in trouble at school. Again, like testosterone, there are other studies that have totally contradicting evidence. Guerra et al. Found that higher levels of cortisol in aggressive participants. Now, again, most of the studies done on men, and they're often small samples. Again, they're correlational, so we're missing this cause and effect relationship that we can find within animal studies. Now, while the two hormones do seem to play a role in aggression, it is not a full picture. Therefore, we call it a reductionist view because it is trying to reduce human behaviour into smaller segments, but it's ignoring other factors that may be at play. As a summary, don't forget if it's an 8 or a 12 mark question, you need to be including a conclusion. And one of the biggest things that I would suggest that we do is point out this correlational evidence, this lack of cause and effect. Now, Bain et al. Found no significant difference in levels of testosterone between men charged with murder and non-violent crimes like burglary. Mazur suggested the need to distinguish between aggression and dominance, as we've discussed before. And I would point out this reductionism, like we just talked about, where it's ignoring free will, moral responsibility, or even social explanations for the development of aggression.